25 lengths in the home straight to run third and then kick it. Hobart next in Regal Royal. A long gap to Fuego Bravo. It was gone at the 2000. So was Celtic Revenge. A number of falls. Unfortunately, I can't say anything good for he's back on track. That jockey is okay. The jockey on Classic Tudor up to his feet. It slipped on the flat and slipped right through the running rail.
Yeah, went right underneath it, Dan, but the horse has got up. And I notice the jockey's remounted and he's walking back down the straight. But congratulations to Jenny Chapman and Torvill and Dean.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
It was a lovely ride. Craig Durden had it well poised, although it nearly made a mess of the second last. And that's where Classic Tudor also
he seemed to slip on the... That might be the trouble, Dan. This track was so hard Saturday. Now, we've had this light rain all the time. And the track, when I walked on it, it was fairly firm still. And now it's... you know, I'd like to see it really either rain or clear up completely, and then the track would either dry up or it'll get that moisture in it. But here they are having a great ding-dong go here. Lev Ross Ruler, he put up a great effort, but Torvill and Dean, he's found plenty getting to the line. Robert Smerton Trading, ridden by Craig Durden. He's a leading jumps jockey here, and he's got away on the line to win quite well. The big run was Zorbian, the way it got home, Dan. It gave them 20 length start and it's got up and ran third.
Well, when that fall happened at about the 1,500 metres, there was a few horses that were inconvenienced, but it's amazing they couldn't pick themselves up after getting slightly interfered with. Two horses just dropped out of the race completely. They were legless, and Zabuan, look, I'm not sure if he was directly affected by it, but all of a sudden he was 30 lengths off the lead, Gary, and just in a hopeless position. And it's amazing the amount of ground he actually picked up. Blue Star fell at about the 800. Now, he got to his feet pretty quickly. The jockey I couldn't see because he was underneath the running rail.
Dan, we'll get you to check on those in a moment, but someone else who got to their feet pretty quickly, Jennifer Chapman in the mounting yard. Jen, you've owned a winner on Melbourne Cup Day.
How's that? I'm so thrilled, I can't tell you. I'm just going to go out and lead him in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I might never get this opportunity again.
Talk to us while you do. Now, how were you during the race?
Oh, look, I can hear my heartbeat when this horse runs because it's just so loud and I'm so scared and so excited at the same time.
And, of course, it was a spectacular race too, Jen, and we hope those horses and riders are okay, but your heart must have been in your mouth a bit when those things happen.
Oh, it always is because, you know, they ride 13 hurdles to get over, so it's always a bit scary. But he's a terrific hurdler, this horse, and he's given us a lot of thrills. This is a horse that didn't pass the vet, mind you. He had chips in his knees and he's won 13 races, so he's been fantastic.
What about the second last? He hit it with everything bar his undercarriage.
Well, I'm glad he did, and it was a fantastic ride by Craig Durden too. So here he comes now. Can't wait to see.
You don't mind that it's raining at the moment?
Who cares?
Exactly.
Who cares?
Well, there you go. That is every owner's dream, is to win a race at Flemington on Melbourne Cup Day. Go on, Jen. Talk to Craig.
Good on you, Tory. What a chance. Well done, Craig. So thrilled. Come here, Tory.
How about that?
Oh, what a horse. What a thrill. This is fantastic, Pete. Oh, every owner's dream, I would think, on Cup Day.
I think Jen's going to be talking about this moment for the rest of her life.
Will I ever? I don't care if I get all muddy and dirty for the rest of the day. It doesn't matter.
Oh, be careful of the shoes, Jen. You know you can't do that to the shoes.
Through the grass.
There you go.
Well done, Toby.
The winner's stall at Flemington on the first Tuesday in November. Torvill and Dean, congratulations to Jen, to Craig Durden and to all of the connections. What a wonderful moment to start our coverage of Tui's new Melbourne Cup Day. Numbers in the first are 5, 4 and 6, and we'll be back to see the smile on Jen's face, the weight signal and the dividends after the first, right after this.
If someone...
There's Andrea Beveridge, the rider of Hobart, weighing in after the first, and an exciting start for Jenny Chapman and her co-owners with Torvill and Dean. Weight is there, correct weight after the first for the numbers 5, 4 and 6, Torvill and Dean, Les Vos Ruler and Zebwan, and the time is very interesting, 3:31.7, and that is only 3.6 seconds outside the record. That is a very good sign that the track hasn't taken too much harm from all of the rain overnight. Let's have a look at the dividends with the correct weight signal on the first race on the card, Dan Malicki.
$5.40 and $2 for Torval and Dean, $3.70 Lesvos Ruler, and $1.80 for Zabuan. The Quinella paid $39.60, Exacta $77.90, and the Trifecta $284.90. So it's about the shortest price winner that we've had for the carnival, $5.40. Tim Gossage, how the bookies react to that? They might be happy to give some back.
Well, it was a massive drifter down here, Dan. It certainly opened up one of the equal favourites, but was a notable drifter, Torval and Dean. And all of us on the 10 network are bleeding because Jenny Chapman didn't really go hard for us, but good luck to Jenny and the Cynic. At least they got something. In race 2 on the program, Wyndham Glory is just touching black figures. It has opened up a very short price favourite for Tony McAvoy, Pete.
Thank you, Tim Gossage, down in the betting ring, and he'll be there right throughout the day, as he has been for several years now, to bring us up to date with the plungers, and he is the man on the spot who will be able to tell you where the big money is going. Wyndham Glory is the favourite in the second at $2.60. These are the babies, of course, so this is a bit of an unknown quantity in this race, a lot of them. Number 2's Out by Sando, Cool Trent $8, Exclusive Appeal $9.70, Nikos number 5 is showing $3.70, Argonaut at $14.80, Danehill Warrior $12.80. Number 9 is Scala Glow, it's $17.90, and Kalani number 10, one having its first start coming out of the Jimmy Conlon stable, is at $10.30. Well, there are the selections, gentlemen. Most of us have gone for Wyndham Glory, and the main reason is because its exposed form is good and we don't know a lot about the others.
That's right, Pete. Very hard to get a guide, and we haven't seen a lot of these 2-year-olds trial, so that's why we're going with the tried horse from the McAvoy stable. OK, so Wyndham Glory and Exclusive Appeal is the one for Jen. Well, maybe we should stick with her, because after all, she's about to get the trophy for the first race on the card, the Harvey Norman Hurdle, and we'll be back to watch her do that when we return to Flemington on Cup Day. Yes, a damp old morning, but it hasn't stopped a big crowd rolling into Flemington for Tui's new Melbourne Cup Day 2001. They've seen Torval and Dean take out the Harvey Norman Hurdle, and to make the presentation is the senior proprietor at Harvey Norman, Mr. Gary Brown.
Mr. Chairman of the Committee of the VRC, ladies and gentlemen, Harvey Norman is again proud to sponsor this opening race. We at Harvey Norman love to be part of great events, and today is no exception. Harvey Norman's Australia's most progressive retailer is always happy to be part of a winning team. This is our second year as sponsor, and on behalf of Katie and Jerry Harvey, the board of directors, our general manager Tracy Huckle, all our proprietors and staff, I am proud and privileged to be able to make this presentation. I would now like to introduce the owner of Torval and Dean, Jenny Chapman.
Thank you very much.
Jen's face, how happy is she? And we heard her delight as Torval and Dean came back to scale, and she led it back, a winner on Melbourne Cup Day. Well, that's the Cup Hurdle over. That's a tradition, so is the Melbourne Cup, and we're going to continue our look at the field for the Tui's new Melbourne Cup. Gentlemen, we're down to number 7, and that is Carpstad Way. Now, his trainer, Chris Wood, wouldn't have been too pleased when he woke up this morning and saw these skies, I don't think, Simon?
No, not particularly, Pete. We know he wants a good track, Carpstad Way. He was 4th in the Melbourne Cup last year, terrific run. I thought he was a little bit disappointing in the McKinnon Stakes. I know it was only 2,000 metres here, Derby Day, but I just thought he was a little bit disappointing, and now with the rain, he's not my top 5.
All right, what about the sentimental favourite, number 8, Yippee He'll always come up short on the tote just because of his name. And not only that, John, he ran 2nd in the Melbourne Cup last year.
But he's an 8-year-old now, Pete. Barrier 22. Darren Beedman to ride, though, but he might follow Sky Heights, might have a nice run along behind him, Simon.
I think he's going to get them beautiful carts.
Yes, and here's the old bloke getting home here last year behind Brew, but he's just one of those horses, if the track rate's a little bit slow, which we think by then it might be, you know, rain affected, he's going to find it tough to come from the back, isn't he?
For an 8-year-old, he's had a light preparation. He
has,
only 5 runs, so he's going to peak on the day.
Only 2 8-year-olds have ever won the Cup. One was back in the 19th century, and I think Catalogue was the last one back in the 30s, so it's been a long time between drinks for the 8-year-olds.
Pretty tough call, Pete, isn't it?
Move on to number 9, and that is Freemason. This horse would have been included amongst the chances for a fair bit of the betting, but it just seems as though his form might have tapered off a bit since the winning edge run, Simon, which we're about to have a look at.
Yeah, Pete, he's just a dour stayer, isn't he? And I remember when the Gouch led on him on this occasion at Caulfield, and he got tackled there by the horse on the outside. Look, he fought back beautifully. He's been a cup horse for the last 2 years, to tell you the truth, and this is his day to shine, but he's very dour. He needs to be up on the speed, I think, for him to win it this year.
Yeah, you would think so, and he finished 6th in the race last year. Now, number 10, Curata Storm, is one of John Hawke's 2 runners in the race, the other one being Freemason. And this horse, well, he's got some ability, John, but he just went off for a long time. Really didn't see the best of him. He just beat the Ambulance Home in the Caulfield Cup, but his run the other day was much better.
Was much better on Saturday behind the horse. May the horse be with you, Peter, but I just find it hard to put him into him. I really do. Greg Child's a great rider. It might have a lot of luck in the race, but I do think he'll need a lot of luck.
George Hanlon's got a couple in. One of them is Mr. Prudent, number 11. Now, he is the Sydney Cup winner. The last Sydney Cup winner to win the Melbourne Cup in the same year was a horse called Carbine.
Yeah.
And that was 1890. And he won pretty impressively that day, Letzi. I know you were here. So,
yes, I was going to say, it's a long time ago, Pete.
Yeah.
We've got to go over 100 years back to find a horse. But this horse is a horse that I picked out after he ran at Caulfield when Craig Williams rode him. Yeah. And I watched this horse all the way through the race. I thought, there is a Melbourne Cup trial. He went to Geelong. He went terrible. And I just jumped off him then. I thought, I can't have him now. But
you like him, though,
he's a 2-miler.
There was no speed in the race. I think here at Flemington, flat track Flemington, he's got a beautiful lightweight for winning a Sydney Cup, and, you know, Craig Williams, barrier 2, he's going to get buried early, and we know he can run the trip. He's not the worst.
Simon, do you think that the speed today, there's not going to be a lot of speed today, though, is there, really? What do you think will lead?
Look, let's see, I'll tell you exactly what will lead. I did a speed chart here for you. Yeah, Freemason's definitely got to be there. I thought that...
the Internationals?
Sky Heights is going to come across. The international horses always go quick out of the straight.
Could I have the show back, please? Thank you.
On the speed charts here, Pete.
Pastor Express is number 12, trained by Paul Cave and ridden by Danny Nikolic, who's having his 3rd ride in the race. Can you make any sort of case for him, Si?
No, none whatsoever.
I'm a bit the same way. I've got to agree with Simon. I can't find a case for him, Pete.
OK, well, you can make a case for this horse, number 13, Ethereal, the Caulfield Cup winner. It would be just a fantastic story if this horse was to win. Trained, of course, by Sheila Laxon and to be ridden by Scott Seamer.
Scotty Seamer.
She's come a long way from winning the Oaks in Brisbane there, and, you know, she's won the Caulfield Cup. She was ridden beautifully by Scott Seamer. She's quite brilliant, this horse, folks, over 2,400 metres. She sits midfield, she relaxes beautiful, and she's got a turn of foot where she can put a gap on them, Pete, which is very important.
And she just kept on boxing on when challenged by Sky Heights in the Caulfield Cup. The big question with her is 3,200 metres, but if she runs it out, she is certainly going to be right.
2 kilo turnaround, Pete.
She'll look the winner somewhere.
I think so. Now, some important news. The track has been downgraded already. So the track has gone from good to dead, and that has only just happened, and that gives trainers the opportunity of maybe looking at whether they want to take their horses out later in the day. So we'll keep an eye out for late scratchings. When we come back, we'll continue our look through the field in the Tui's new Melbourne Cup 2001. You're watching it around Australia and in many parts of the world through Network 10. Flemington today. That is in the L'Oreal Marquee, where the ladies are just getting the finishing touches to make sure that they do look absolutely spectacular. And speaking of looking spectacular, there it is, the gold 3-handled Loving Cup, the most famous trophy in Australian sport. It is the Tui's new Melbourne Cup. It's worth around $60,000 this year, and it will be presented after the running of the big race this afternoon, which is coming up at 3:10 Eastern Daylight Saving Time. Let's have a look at the runners as we continue our look through the field, and we come here to number 14, and that is Hill of Grace. Corey Brown had a mishap in the mounting yard on Saturday. He's okay. Robert Prescott, the trainer, and I reckon this mare has a great chance.
Huge chance. There's a lot of money bet on her in the call of the card too, Pete. As we watch her finish the McKinnon Stakes off where she ran 2nd. Always a great form lead up to the Melbourne Cup running the 2000. And she, I think she was much better on the dry track. She doesn't mind the sting out of it, Pete, but just she finished off beautiful, didn't she?
Yeah, and her run in the Caulfield Cup was really good too. She finished 4th. And let's see, the 2 lead-up races that I've been told for as long as I've been studying Melbourne Cups, Caulfield Cup, McKinnon Stakes are always good guides.
They are very good guides, Peter, and that's why I always like to have my pick on the last day, like on the Saturday before the Melbourne Cup. I really feel that horses peak on that day. They hold it over till the Tuesday.
What about number 15, In a Flurry? Now, new
controversial mare, isn't she?
Yeah,
actually?
she is, and 3,200 metres. Well, we don't know whether she'll get the distance, but one thing, if she is to get the distance, she's got to settle.
She must settle, but
yeah.
Barrier 16, Letzi, she's going to find it hard.
She's going to fire up a bit early, Simon, unless they snag her back, and then you're going to get back into the ruck more or less, aren't you, today? With mud coming back, it's going to be a tough call, I think.
In saying all that, though, Pete, she's got a bit of class, this horse.
Yes, she has. Now, Big Pat, Whoever thought that he would have been right up near the top of the Melbourne Cup betting? He's trained by a bloke called Tulloch. Well, Tulloch, the horse, couldn't win a Melbourne Cup, but maybe Tulloch, the trainer, might win one.
Yeah, he's had a lovely preparation too. He's been racing against weight for age in shorter distances, and you know, he's going to relish the 3,200 metres. He's been set for the race and been talking with his jockey Peter Mertens. He's going to get a beautiful run from barrier 9 as we watch him finish his race off here behind Spirit of Westbury and Rain Gauge.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Rain Gauge finished 4 or 5 lengths in front of him that day, and I can't see any reason why it won't again today.
Well, I think Big Pat might beat him over the 3,200 feet. Yes, I really do.
Well, Big Pat's going to go forward from 9, Pete. He's not going to get as far back like he did at the Valley, and Rain Gauge has got to come across to fit in. So.
Yeah, good point. Now, number 17, Reenactor, is going to be one of the roughies in the race. Trained by Jack Denham, to be ridden by Larry Cassidy. Probably pretty hard to have him.
Terrific trainer, great jockey, can't have him, Pete.
Yeah.
No, I'm a bit the same way, Pete.
What about Karazi? Now, I give him a little each way hope. David Hall didn't think he'd get into the race. He eventually was pushed up into the field. He's placed at 3,200 metres, Letzy. That's all
Twice
important.
He's been placed at that, hasn't he?
Yeah.
That's important today because it's going to be 3 times as it's on. But it's going to be important today that you've run over that ground and I think been competitive at it, because today the track's been downgraded, as we just said. It might even be downgraded again, so you're going to have to be a 3,200 metre horse to win today.
Now, the greatest thing with his form, guys, is that May the Horse Be With You headed him in the Geelong Cup and he fought back and he beat him. So he's a good little chance.
Speaking of May the Horse Be With You, so many parallels between he and Brew, trained of course by the same man in Michael Moroney. Jason Patton has his 3rd ride in the Melbourne Cup, and the way he finished off in the sub, he's a definite threat.
Beautiful ride, and the horse is just peaking, and folks, he's buys the bill, so he's nice and tough, and you expect him to raise the bar again today.
Here is that run in the sub.
The only thing, Pete, that worries me about this horse, May the Horse Be With You, I've tipped him to run 2nd in the Melbourne Cup. He's a pacifier horse. Now, if they downgrade, they have to come off.
Explain for the uninitiated, let's see what pacifiers are.
Well, pacifiers are like a mesh that they put over their eyes and it settles the horse and gives him that. It's a calming effect on a horse.
So blinkers with a mesh in front of them.
It gives them 3/4 vision.
3/4 vision. And what happens is, if it's a wet track, you can get... We've seen a horse here one year called Typhoon put up after the race and he couldn't see. Now, you can't do that in a Melbourne Cup. You've got to be able to see where you go. And if they pull him off, is he going to be as good? I think he can be, but just a little bit of a worry.
OK, now one we might have missed from the replays the other day. I had a good look at the replays, warning siren sounding, so we'll bring you up to date with what's happening in a moment. Prophet's Kiss. Now, she is actually in foal at the moment, and mares quite often race well when they're in foal. She was a big run on Saturday.
Her hormones are turning over, Pete, no doubt about that. She's placed 2nd in a Sydney Cup at Group 1 level, over 3,200 metres, so she's not the worst of them.
Spirit of Westbury, we saw him running 2nd in the Moonee Valley Cup. He ran 3rd in the Cranbourne Cup before that. He is a real one-pacer, and Shane Dye, of course, has come out to take the ride.
All the way from Hong Kong, so Shane wouldn't take the ride if he didn't see the race or a replay, and he's a very good judge, Shane Dye, of these races, and must be brought into the race now with Cliffy Brown, good trainer. OK, I've
gone for Rain Gauge in the race number 22. Part of the reason is because he's got a master trainer, George Hanlon. He's already won 3 Melbourne Cups before. He's got 49.5 kilos, and Karen McAvoy, well, he knows what it takes to win a Melbourne Cup.
Pete, you've just called him a good thing after that rap.
Well, I don't think there's any such thing as a good thing in the Melbourne Cup, but gee, I think it'd be hard to beat.
No, I agree with you. His preparation has just continued to elevate for the 3,200 metres Melbourne Cup. George Hanlon knows what he's doing, and he's going to get 49.5 kilos, Pete. He's going to have a paper stamp on his back, and Karen McAvoy won the race last year.
He knows what it takes, and he's got the barrier. He's got 1 barrier in from last year. He drew 24 last year. He comes into 23, Karen, so he knows what it takes from there.
He's a very positive horse.
Speaking of 1 barrier, there's the 1 barrier for Rum, and Chris Muntz is probably the smallest jockey in the race. He's riding one of the biggest horses in the race. Yeah. You'll look like a pimple on a pumpkin out there this afternoon, won't he?
He's a pimple on a pumpkin today.
Peter, do you realise this horse in the race, Rum, is going into this race a non-winner? He actually never been first past the post,
but
he got it on a positive swab for the winner. So he's going into the race nearly, well, you could say he's a maiden horse as a runner, isn't he?
Incredible.
And how long since you can remember a maiden horse running in the Melbourne Cup?
I can't possibly think of it, but the way he went the other day, he's definite chance, and so too is the bottom one, this mare, Celestial Show, trained by Len Morden, and to be ridden by the young man, 20 years of age, Reece McLeod. What sort of feelings would be going through his mind at the moment, sir?
He would have tossed and turned last night, Pete, and just the atmosphere. See, there's so much history in a Melbourne Cup. He rode Celestial Show in the Caulfield Cup here, folks. An absolute treat. Now, the fence was off. He had a little bit of luck on the bend, but he knows what he's doing. He's had some great grounding by his master, Pat Carey. And Celestial Show, she's run in the race before. She's seasoned now at 6 years of age, and she's ready to run the race of her life.
OK, that is the Cup field. Let's have a look at the selections from the panel. And I know that Jen is pretty keen on Rain Gauge number 22. She's not with us at the moment. She's probably still in the members area celebrating Torval and Dean.
Owner's bar.
I hope she's okay when we get down there.
I don't think she'll be back.
Yeah. No, we probably won't see her for the rest of the day.
No.
I'll tell you what, we'll give my selections for what they're worth. I like Rain Gauge number 22 for all of the reasons that we've spoken about, to beat 14 Hill of Grace and 23 Rum, and number 8 Yippee-I-O. Jen, there are her selections. Rain Gauge, Hill of Grace. We've gone for the same Quinella. Persian Punch, the overseas rider, for third. Simon Marshall is 22, 1 and 8. Rain Gauge on top from Simon. Sky Heights the best outsider. And then for John Letts, it's Sky Heights to beat May the Horse Be With You and Celestial Show. That's the Melbourne Cup later in the afternoon. Plenty more action to come on this 10-race card from the course of history. Whichever part of Australia or the world you're watching us in, welcome to Flemington on Melbourne Cup Day 2001. And I hope they're water fast colours that he's using there, because it is a wet day and it's pretty difficult to get into the course. The taxis and the limos are rolling in prior to the running of race 2. Here are the Liberty Totes prior to the second event, and that is the Peters Drumsticks 2-year-old stakes. And we can see that Wyndham Glory still the favourite, very short in Queensland at $1.90, odds upon $2.50 on Super Tab, $2.40 in New South Wales. Now the first starters here are number 3 Cool Trent, which comes out of the Dean Lawson yard at $7.60. Number 4 Exclusive Appeal is a first starter, and that comes out of the Matthew Ellerton stables, $9.50. Nikos in the betting at $3.90, and the other first starter is number 10, and that is Kalani, which is trained by Jimmy Conlon. Scott Seamer takes the ride from gate number 1, and they will start up at the 1,000 metre mark here, so only a small field with 2 scratchings, numbers 2 and 6, a field of 8 to run, and you would think probably that they will all come down the same side. It's just better for the babies, gentlemen, to have the rail to guide them and other horses around them rather than being by themselves on one side of the track.
No doubt, Pete, and only being a small field of 8, they won't want to lose any ground going to the outside, so you're right.
So there are the tips. Wyndham Glory from most of us, Exclusive Appeal from Jenny Chapman. All important that we find out what's happened in the betting ring here, and here's the gentleman who can tell us everything, Tim Gossage.
Good on you, Pete. Good money for Wyndham Glory, the top weight. It was a notable drifter in the first 15 minutes of betting, but it has shortened into clear favouritism now. There's also been some specking for Cool Trent. Nikos has got the drifts, but Wyndham Glory will go to the gates a clear, almost dollar for dollar favourite.
Okay, Tim Gossage in the betting ring. They're about to move in. We'll take a look at some of these runners. As you can see, up in the distance, Dan Malicki's going to have his work cut out, because they are almost 3/4 of a mile away from him. And a few of these babies going around for the first time. Cool Trent, Simon, is Dean Lawson's named it after his son, I think.
Yes, owned by his wife, Pete. A lot of pressure on Dean to get this one going, and named after his son. They've got a very good opinion of this horse, and we're just having a look at the barriers are on the outside of the track there. So a little bit of discretion used by the club, I think, Johnny?
I think so, Simon. That's going to cause... That will stop interference, jockeys wanting to get out there. But interesting one in this is young Howard Cheng, Peter.
Yes.
From...
Hong Kong, yeah.
Hong Kong rides well?
Yeah. He is a good rider.
Yes,
yeah, he's been here for a little while now and doing a fair bit of riding, and yes, he's very capable.
David Hayes sent him over to have him educated here in Australia.
Okay, well, they're just about set here for the running of the second. Let's go to Gary Willits and Dan Malicki.
Yes, they're ready here, I think.
Set to go. The favourite is Wyndham Glory, and they're racing now. And Nikos has jumped away pretty well from the outside. Now it's going to the outside with Danehill Warrior. And the other horses, the other 2-year-olds, almost plotting a course down the middle of the track, which is most unusual. It's Nikos and Danehill Warrior down the grandstand side, and towards the centre inwards, the favourite Wyndham Glory has taken the lead from Kalani up to about third. Exclusive Appeal with Argonaut. Cool Trent's the widest of that bunch, nearer the inside, and also up there with them as they ran down to about the 500 was Scarnaglow. Now the grandstand side of the track, Nikos hard ridden with Danehill Warrior, but on the flat side it's Cool Trent going up the tackle, Wyndham Glory, and a length or so back to Scarnaglow, and they've come away from Argonaut. It's Cool Trent getting his neck in front of the favourite Wyndham Glory. Down the grandstand side it's Nikos, but it's Cool Trent in front. He's running about, but he's a clear leader. Oh, he's got it, one Cool Trent. From Wyndham Glory, Scarnaglow and Nikos, and Cool Trent on debut wins well. Cool Trent first, second placing goes to Wyndham Glory, third's very close. Scarnaglow on the inside and Nikos down the grandstand side, who did a brave job. He was almost there by himself. Then came Argonaut from Exclusive Appeal. Dropping out was Kalani and Danehill Warrior. Time was 58.5. And it was a strange race.
Definitely. Look, He looked a beautiful looking horse. We remarked what a great looking horse he is, Cool Trent. He looked very well. Brett Preble, he's broken his run of out, so he'll be really pleased about that. And I noticed there might have been a little bit of interference. Wyndham Glory just sort of chopped in front of the third horse there. You can just see them as they come up here. Cool Trent, this is the inside rail. Cool Trent's the one in the middle.
He looked a bit lost at this point when he got to the front,
Yeah.
Gary. You notice Brett try and go back to the rails.
Here, and he's just, sort of, just crossed in front of him.
Which does get third, number 9, so it's 3, 1 and 9. 3, 1, 9.
But, gee, Cool Trent, he's race good. He would have been up here and trialled a few times. But it was funny, as you said, Dan, 2 went to the outside, and the others, because the stalls were started in the middle of the track, they sort of stayed there for a while. A lot of them got a little bit lost, and I noticed Wyndham Glory especially did run on. Here's a head on.
He gets to the fence here, Coulter, or close to the fence, but that guidance, he races a lot more truer over the last 100.
Yeah.
Now, would there be a protest third against second? We saw their stablemates. You've got to remember they are stablemates. Right. But it did get a check, Scarlet Glow, the horse in the gold cap, about 200 metres from the line.
Yeah, definitely. But it's hard to say with that protest. But still, it's a lot of money. It's the difference between second's 15,000 and third is 6,750. So I suppose you really owe it to the owner if you think your horse has been checked.
Maybe it's worth following Brett Preble because he's had 9 winners at each of the last 2 carnivals at Flemington. Last year he started a bit late on Derby Day and got going. So can he have another 8 from this point onwards? Here's Mark Aston.
Thank you very much, mate. Dean Lawson joins us. Congratulations. He looks all right.
He does. He's a horse with a fair bit of ability, but he's still a bit green and learning what it's all about. And it was good to see him win today.
There was a bit of a tip around for him late.
There was. You know, I had a few people ask me sort of leading up to it, but I couldn't say much. My wife owns half of him, so I would have got killed at home. But, you know, he's had a couple of good jump outs around, and we've had a few other stables asking what it was, trying to find out. So, you know, a few people, once they saw him here today, probably knew the horse.
And good to see Brett break the duck.
That's right. You know, it's normally his carnival the last couple of years, so I'm glad we could win for him today.
Tell us about Rum.
Look, obviously the top coming off the track probably helps him. It stops some of the other horses that sprint a bit quick for him. But look, he's not the worst in the race, and I expect him to hopefully finish in the first half a dozen.
Good luck, Dean.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dean.
Mark Aston with the winning trainer, Dean Lawson. Maybe we'll be talking to him about 3:15 this afternoon with Rum in the Tooheys New Melbourne Cup. But a great start for him with the first starter, Cool Trent, ridden by Brett Preble, taking out the second event from 1 Wyndham Glory and number 9 Scarlet Glow. As we watch these babies stride to the line, we take a break from Flemington on Tooheys New Melbourne Cup Day 2001.
Well, to be quite honest with you, being the weatherman, I'm copping a bit of flack here at Flemington today because the garden hose has been put upon us. But people are being rather understanding when I pull out the solution to bad weather. This is a Jeroboam. In fact, this is a garden gnome holding a Jeroboam. Now, what's a Jeroboam? A Jeroboam is 3 litres of Flemington's finest lager. So I think, let's drink to the weather, eh? Yeah! Get on it.
Tim Bailey, who's going to be wet on the inside as well as being wet on the outside by the look of it. Jockeys are on the scales and we're about to get the weight signal after the second. See if that interference constitutes a protest. Not according to Mr. Des Gleeson, and the jockeys were quite happy. So correct weight has been notified, and the winner is Cool Trent, defeating Wyndham Glory, in third place and going to Scarlet Glow after race 2. So that means Dan Malicki can bring us the dividends all around Australia.
Yes, Pete, $7 on Super Tab in New South Wales, $8.10 in Queensland for Cool Trent, $2 the place on Super Tab, $1.30 Wyndham Glory, $4.80 Scarlet Glow. Quinella paid $7.40, $20.80 Exacta, trifecta $230.30, and the double paid $57.10, running double 5 and 3 on the first couple. So nibble for that horse. The second horse was certainly well back. Punters a little more astute in that race, Tim.
Much so, Dan. Yes, they got a bit out of the bookmakers at last. It's taken, what's that, 11 races to get some. So, yeah, a bit of money for Cool Trent, but the money certainly stayed in the bag with the top weight Wyndham Glory. Not a lot happening in race 3 at the moment, but I can tell you